7 books. First you have to situate our study by going to the last part where table of canons is given. Table of canons is given. In my book it is page 387. 387. Table of canons. As you see, book 1 is general norms. General norms. Book 2 is called the people of God. And then book 3, teaching office of the church. And then book 4, the sanctifying office of the church. Book 5, the temporal goods of the church. And 6, sanctions in the church. And the last book, processes, book 7. So altogether the code is divided into 7 books. 7 books. Book 4, which is called sanctifying office of the church, has part number 1, sacraments, which consists of 7 titles. Part number 2, the other acts of divine worship. And part number 3, sacred places and times. That is book number 4. Book number 4. So now we are situating our study. We are going to study the Code of Canon Law, book 4, part 1, title 7. Part 4, title 7, which is called marriage. It begins with 1055 and ends in 1165. 111 canons. 111 canons. We will read through them one by one and comment on them, and you should know the teaching of the church. 111 canons on marriage. From 1055 to 1165. As you see in this itself, there are some introductory canons. First, 1055 to 1062. 8 canons, 8 introductory canons are there. Then chapter 1, pastoral care and the prerequisites for the celebration of marriage. Chapter 2, deriment impediments in general. 3, individual deriment impediments. 4, matrimonial consent. Chapter 5, form of the celebration of marriage. 6, mixed marriage. 7, secret celebration of marriage. 7, effects of marriage. And the and the 9th chapter, separation of spouses. And the 10th chapter, validation of marriage. 10 chapters are there. And the last 2 chapters are divided into articles. Article 1, Article 2, Article 1, Article 2. So this is the situating our study. You should know the Code of Canon Law has 7 books. You should know the name of the books. Finally, any time, 7 books. And then the books. At least you should find out where it is. What, for example, penalty. That is about punishment. That is book number 6. Temporal goods, book number 5. About teaching, catechesis, evangelization, teaching office, book number 3. People of God is divided into 3 parts. First part, Christ faithful in general. Second part, how the church is constituted as the hierarchy, different categories of people. And third part will deal with the religious, which we call ICL, Institutes of Consecrated Life, and Societies of Apostolic Life. And then book number 1 contains general principles, general norms. And the last book contains some processes, court cases, things like that. So like that, this knowledge you should have. You should not search somewhere else for it. Now with regard to sanctifying office, the main thing is, of course, the 7 sacraments. That is in the first part. The second part, other acts of divine worship, like divine offers, funeral, and then all these things. And then third part, sacred places and sacred times. What is days of penance? What is a church? This is in the third part. So first part is very important, and 7 sacraments are given 7 titles. 7 titles. And according to the traditional order of the sacraments, baptism, confirmation, Holy Eucharist, like the penance, anointing of the sick, orders, and then you have finally the sacrament of marriage. So you should know the comprehensive understanding or idea of the code. I know the canon numbers, so which book begins where and ends where, like that. You may not know the number, at least the content of the essential points you should know. That is our purpose. What I taught one of your earlier groups from your own camera, it was taken on Canon 1055, especially if you don't see, if you type in your YouTube Canon 1055 Sacrament of Marriage, once again you can listen to what I am saying also. Then you will become very thorough with our study. And I will also give you have the American commentary, green commentary. Have you seen that? Canon law commentary in the first year? I have it in PDF. I will also pass it on to you. So you have the notes. This is the from the American commentary, the what concerns the canon law, what concerns marriage. From that American commentary, in PDF also I give. You can read for yourself. This is the commentary only on these 111 canons on marriage. You need not take a printout of it. In addition to my notes, you have a lot of material to read. At this time only you can learn. Later on you will not have time only. So this week concentrate on marriage, ask me any doubt, and then try to really be thorough with the subject. So this is the thing, American commentary. This also, not only this part, but the whole thing is in PDF, which I will pass it on to you also. And then here is all the introduction, everything is given in this. Because of our shortness of the course, we will not see everything. In this commentary which you will be given, there is a historical overview, especially, and then it speaks about the marriage in the early church, and then it speaks about Middle Ages, then Council of Trent and the post-Tridentine area, finally Vatican II, and then till the revised code. You would do well to have an introduction to marriage, to study pages 1234 to 1240, Introduction to Marriage. All the important points are given there. You will do well to read them. Historical overview, early church, and then please you have to read the Middle Ages, Council of Trent, and then Vatican II, so on marriage. On marriage. So I am not going to read these pages, that is 1234 to 1240, 7 pages. I want to now straight away begin with the first canon on the introduction. You have to read it. Tomorrow I will ask you to know whether you have read this introduction, historical part, tomorrow. Please make it a point to read it. Now, Canon 1055, the very first canon on marriage. We will read it, and occasionally I will ask you to read. So the same person should not read again and again. Once you read, wait for all your companions to have read one canon at least. Only then the next person should read. So some people should not keep quiet all the time. Canon 1055. The first canon says, marriage between the baptized has been raised by Christ to the dignity of the sacrament. That is the main sentence. The marriage covenant between the baptized is raised by Christ the Lord to the dignity of a sacrament. The marriage covenant between the baptized has been raised by Christ our Lord to the dignity of the sacrament. This is the main sentence that is contained in this canon. The other points I will say. First of all, the marriage is between a man and a woman. So nowadays, people speak about marriage between man and woman and woman. Based on revelation, we speak of marriage between man and woman. I always say every marriage should be permanent. Between any man and any woman must be permanent. But then, if the marriage is between two baptized, it is absolute. It gets a special permanency. So, right at the beginning, I always say, we speak about indissolubility of marriage. Indissolubility of marriage means that what God has joined together should not be broken, separated. Indissolubility. In indissolubility, we speak of 3 degrees. First, all marriages. Second, marriage of the baptized. Both are baptized. And the third degree of absolute indissolubility comes. Marriage of the baptized and also consummated, means that they have slept together, they had sexual relationship. In some cases, the non-sacramental marriage can be dissolved. In some cases, even sacramental but non-consummated, not yet they have lived together, can be. But this one, sacramental and consummated, can never be dissolved by any human power, by anybody. Even the Pope cannot break a marriage which is sacramental and which is consummated. This one, right at the beginning I say, later on we will speak elaborately on it. All marriages to Hindus are married. So for the church it is permanent only. Civilly they may get divorced, that is different matter. If it is valid marriage, we cannot. But because it is non-sacramental, suppose one of them is free from the marriage, then we can ask the Pope for permission, and then such a marriage in special situation, favor of faith cases, we can always have the marriage dissolved, and then one of the parties can be allowed to marry a Catholic. But then we don't accept civil divorce, but only the Pope can dissolve a non-sacramental marriage. Two Catholics married, but then marriage day itself fight. They did not sleep together. They don't want to live together further. then also that marriage also can be dissolved by the Pope. Non-consummated marriage. But sacramental marriage, but consummated marriage, it can never be dissolved. So that is what, okay. So a number of points in the first canon itself I am telling you, you have to know that. I said, is every marriage between baptized is sacramental. For example, two Hindus, is it a sacramental marriage? No, because canon says marriage between the baptized is a sacramental marriage. So, a Hindu and a Catholic, is it a sacramental marriage? No, because both must be baptized. Okay. A Protestant and Protestant, is it a sacramental marriage?
Yes. If they are baptized.
If they are not baptized, how they are Protestant? They are Hindus only. Two Protestants.
In their church, they are baptized because they have two sacraments.
So now you should tell me, what did I say? When is a marriage sacrament? Marriage, not marriage between the Catholics alone sacrament. I did not use the word marriage between Catholics is a crime, has been raised as marriage between the baptized. So they are baptized. It is also sacrament. We should not have had doubt. A valid marriage. But then you should remember all these cases. So this case, Protestant and Protestant, Protestant and Catholic, Protestant and Catholic, Catholic and Catholic. All these are sacrament. Because they are baptized. They are baptized. They are baptized. Suppose somebody, a Protestant, the girl is forced into marriage because she is threatened. Will it be a sacrament?
No.
Their pastor only blessed the marriage.
No.
Why? Why is that sacrament?
Consent is most important in marriage.
Consent is
The most
important in marriage. Okay, two Catholics marry in the civil court. They don't want to come to the church. Is it a sacrament?
No.
No? Why?
Because it is not blessed.
Form and not civil marriage. It is just a civil marriage.
That is a contract.
So it is valid marriage, no?
There is a difference between contract and the marriage. Sacrament of the church.
Blessed in the
Church it becomes sacrament.
blessed in the anybody can bless.
No.
Lay person can bless. Deacon can bless.
Yes.
Ordained
Instead of
ordained.
So a civil marriage between two Catholics is not a sacrament, according to you?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
So Bishop said, okay, you go and marry civilly.
No.
Now it is Corona, don't come to the church is closed. You go and marry civilly.
Marriage is a
But that
sacrament.
must be rectified in the church.
Yeah. Marriage is sacrament. Even if they marry outside, they have to rectify it in the church in the presence of the minister.
To receive
with
other
form and
sacraments.
matter.
So you have studied everything. Huh? Okay. So that takes me to the next question. Not every marriage between the baptized is a sacrament, but every valid marriage between the baptized is a sacrament. Every valid marriage between the baptized is the sacrament. So I am happy already at the level of second and third year theology, you know that what is a sacrament is marriage between the baptized. And even some theology final year students are thinking the marriage between two Protestants is not a sacrament. If it is valid marriage, it is a sacrament. Very first day I am happy that you have understood this. Marriage between two baptized. Not any marriage, but the valid marriage. Now I come to the most important point of this course. What is required for a valid marriage? What is required for a valid marriage? The first one is consent. Valid consent is needed. It is explained in Canon 1057 and also 1095 to 11. What is consent? When consent can be invalid, all that is said. So first thing is consent. You all rightly said, when a girl is threatened to give the consent, there is no valid consent, the marriage is invalid. It is not a sacrament. When it is proved, the church will declare, even though it is blessed in the church, it is an invalid marriage. It does not break a valid marriage, but rather it only declares the so-called marriage as invalid marriage. Very good. The first thing is consent. You should know about the consent very thoroughly. What are the situations when the consent will be invalid? What is consent? As you rightly already said, what makes the marriage? It is consent which makes the marriage. Consent which makes the marriage. Very important. Second element, that it must be free from the impediments. The parties must be free from the deriment impediments. Deriment means that destroys. Deriment impediments. Deriment impediments. If a marriage is celebrated with the impediment, then it is invalid. There are some impediments which can be dispensed by the higher authority. Some impediments cannot be dispensed because it is divine law. For example, somebody wants to marry the elder sister and younger sister. Please give me dispensation. No, divine law is unity. Time pass, you cannot have one more. So, already married, you can't have one more wife. Only when the first one dies, and you pray that the first one dies, only then you can marry second one. So already is that it is an impediment, divine law impediment. The father cannot marry the daughter, incestuous relationship. No dispensation can be given. Some impediments you cannot give the dispensation. Natural law, divine law, impediments cannot be dispensed. Some impediments can be dispensed. So either you must be free from impediments, or you should get dispensation. Dispensation from the impediment. Dispensation from the impediment. That's the second thing. The impediments are explained, for example, Canon 1083 to 1094. 12 impediments are there. We should know each of them. You have no excuse of not knowing them. You should know what are the 12 impediments to marriage. What are divine law impediments? What are merely church law impediments? You have to distinguish. What impediments can be dispensed? What impediments cannot be dispensed? So you should know the dispensation. You should know the 12 impediments. Deriment impediments. So 1083 to 1094 we will study. And then the next one you all already know. The marriage must be celebrated in the canonical form. Canonical form. Canonical form. You simply said blessed in the church. Blessed in the street also it can be canonical form. But what makes it the canonical form? Canon 1108 says, this is the canon. Canon 1108 says, what is the, who can officiate at the marriage or bless the marriage, especially in the Latin church. Now, one thing is local ordinary. The explanation of local ordinary is given in 134. Canon 134 says, who are all local ordinary? One is Roman Pontiff, diocesan bishop, who is head of the diocese, VG, and episcopal vicar. So these are the people who are called a local ordinary. There is an administrator also. He is equal to the diocesan bishop. So all these people are local ordinary. So they can bless the marriage anywhere in the diocese.
What is the difference between the diocese and administrator?
Administrator is temporary, no? Suppose bishop dies, one priest will be elected as diocesan administrator, who is temporarily in charge of the diocese. Either Holy See will appoint, or normally the consultants will elect till a new bishop is appointed. Till a new bishop is appointed. Diocesan administrator, temporary in charge. Okay. So this is called the local ordinary. When the law uses the word local ordinary, it will include also these two persons, VG and episcopal vicar. When the law uses the word diocesan bishop, only one person, the head of the diocese. Only the one person you should know. When the law uses the word ordinary, then Father Benny also will come, Major Superior of Clerical Religious Congregation. So he is ordinary. Father Benny is ordinary. But the VGs are local ordinary. Father Xavier Manavat is local ordinary because he is episcopal vicar. So you should know in canon law to use the exact words. Diocesan bishop, ordinary, very elaborate, including major superiors. Not women major superiors, but clerical major superiors. Okay. Then local ordinary, because these personal ordinaries, major superiors are excluded, it includes VG and episcopal. When the law uses the word diocesan bishop, then only the bishop and VG cannot do it without his authorization. So when later on we will study, the law doesn't use the word diocesan bishop for dispensing matrimonial impediments. It uses the word local ordinary. That means bishop can give, VG can give, episcopal vicar also can give the dispense. So you have to see. Don't simply say, one bishop also says, I am the local ordinary. Yes, bishop, you are the local ordinary. According to Canon 134, your VG also is local ordinary. Oh, bishop himself did not know that they are also local ordinary. So sometimes in some constitution also it is written, the local ordinary will preside. Then I said, do you mean the VG can come for the celebration? No, we meant the diocesan bishop. Then put diocesan bishop. Don't. All bishops are, diocesan bishops are local ordinary. But all local ordinary are not diocesan bishops. I am happy that you have this clarity. So this is it. So what is my first question when you come for the exam, canon law exam? What are the three requirements for the validity of marriage? You should not make any mistakes. If you say this, you pass 40 marks. Then you build on it one by one more mark left. So you should not make any mistake on this. Even in the sleep, you should be able to say, Father, the three requirements for the valid marriage are these. First one is consent that makes the marriage. It must be valid consent, deliberate consent, knowledgeable consent, pre-consent. There are situations when the consent will be invalid, Father. For example, 1095 to 1104, all those canons speak about how the consent can be invalid. First point. Second point, Father, it must be free from the impediments. There should not be any impediments. If at all there is impediment, you should get a dispensation. But some impediments nobody can give dispensation. That also. You should know the 12 impediments. The third point, it must be celebrated in the canonical form. Canonical form. Canonical form, I said one is local ordinary, the other is parish priest. I forgot to tell you. So, parish, two people who can bless, parish priest in the parish, local ordinary in the diocese. Any marriage. So, local ordinary can bless any marriage in the diocese. Suppose the Bishop of Bangalore comes to Bangalore. He should also get, he can bless any marriage in Bangalore because he is the local ordinary there. He is not local ordinary in the diocese of Bangalore. He should get a delegation either from the local ordinary or from the parish. You may be bishop, but you don't have any right, even if you bring your own people there. You don't have right to bring two Mangaloreans also here to bless their marriage. Marriage will be invalid. There is no impediment, there is consent, but canonical form is missing. I always say canonical form is two parties, man and woman, two witnesses, plus one minister. This is canonical form. 2 plus 2 plus 1. One minister who has the necessary faculty. Who has the necessary faculty. In the Latin Church, the minister, the so-called the priest is only official witness. One more official witness in the name of the church. These are two witnesses plus one ecclesiastical witness in the Latin church. In the Oriental churches, so the minister is the priest. The minister is the priest. The Latin understanding is the ministers are the parties themselves, husband and wife. They administer the sacrament to each other. The Latin Church understands that the ministers in the sacrament of marriage are the spouses themselves. The Latin Church. In the Oriental Church, you need a priest to celebrate the marriage and to get asked the questions and to give the nuptial blessings. It is required for validity. It is required for validity. So you should know the difference between.
If a couple is there, we have the witnesses and not a priest but a brother.
Yeah.
Will that marriage will be valid?
These two witnesses.
Yeah, we have two witnesses. We have the ministers in Latin form when we are speaking. We have the couple, the two witnesses, and not a priest, not an ordained priest, but a minister. But
okay. So the person here, it is not a priest. Your question is
a brother.
Brother. First one is the Latin Church says that a deacon can be given also delegation. A deacon, minimum deacon by general law. Suppose there is a deacon in the Latin Church, he can be asked to officiate the marriage. That means you ask the parties to manifest the consent. That is the main thing. That person who asks the parties to give the consent is the minister. Brother is too elaborate. The general law of the church does not give. But there is another canon which speaks about situations where a priest cannot be approached by the people due to no fault of their own. In these cases, in some situations, the Episcopal Conference can give norms and the bishop can appoint lay persons, brother or officiate at the marriage. Any lay person to officiate at the marriage. There is also another situation which is called extraordinary form, where priest is not there, deacon not there, officially appointed lay person also not there. That is extraordinary situation sometimes in mission station. What will the people do? The right to marriage should not be denied. So in such a situation, you can have the marriage only with witnesses. That is extraordinary form of marriage. Normally, you have a priest or a deacon. Deacon means always delegation. Priest means also, if he is not parish priest, always delegation. But bishop can appoint lay ministers for marriage. When lay ministers are also there, not there means, then you follow the extraordinary form. At the earliest opportunity, they should come and not rectify the marriage. Marriage is valid. Get the blessing. Get the blessing. If a priest is there, he can be always called. That's all.
The marriage has the same validity.
The same validity. In the extraordinary form, that is very, very rare thing.
If they want to get separate, the same rules will be applied.
Yeah, same rules will be applied. It will be a sacramental marriage, valid marriage, same rules. Because there was no priest, they cannot say our marriage is not valid. If it is extraordinary form. Then even when extraordinary form, they have to enter into the register at the earliest opportunity.